Time is now 6:30. We're going to go ahead and get started tonight. Councilman Chappelle, will you lead us in prayer, and everyone please stand for the pledge. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We only got 2 items on the agenda tonight. The first one being to consider and possibly approve and/or amend assistance package and/or commitments and/or terms for Project Wanderlust, include the purchase of property and improvements located at 1070 County Road 1135 in Mount Pleasant, Texas 75455.
And Mayor and Council, there's a, Terry prepared a resolution, so what you'll be doing is approving a resolution. Darlene has a copy, but it'll be to do this. And if you want copies, we can get a copy for you, but.
I don't know if you would read through the summary?
You could summarize it just for public benefit.
Sure. First off, thank you so much. I know you guys have been putting a lot of hours in this month, and I am extremely appreciative for your service to the city and for this specific project, which was time sensitive. Project Wanderlust is a manufacturing startup that has an existing clientele and has a pipeline for converting school buses into RVs. So just think your drivable kind of RVs, but much better construction. Our data max person also is building his own. They're called schoolies. Those school buses, they're able to be purchased for pennies on the dollar after their usable life, and then there's a huge movement, especially after COVID, to convert them to RVs. And so there's a lot of pivot points with this kind of project. With our trailer industry here, tiny houses, there's a lot of things they could pivot to if things went south. So I've talked to the company. We've run them through the SBDC. We've been working with them for about 4 or 5 months. We were made aware very recently that some of their financing fell through because they were a startup. Guaranty is actually very interested in the project, but was not until like last week able to meet with them for a variety of reasons. And so there's just not enough time in the month for the contract, which closes at the end of this month, to do all the things that title companies like to do and banks like to do. So we wanted to step in and provide stopgap financing for the project, and then the intention is to be fully taken out within 45, 60 days or so.
Let me ask you, how many employees are they looking at employing here?
So they're looking around 5 or 6, 7. When last time they spoke to us, those numbers are changing. They're still putting a lot of their pro forma together, we believe. And regardless, we did not require at this point a full intake form for them because we're not providing any sort of incentive other than this building, which will be taken out of in a few months.
When you say Guaranty Bank has a level of interest in this, what level of interest do they have? Have they made 100% commitment on this 50% total investment?
So yes, we have a letter of commitment. We have a commitment letter from Guaranty Bank, and they'll be partnering with the ArcTex, which is the Council of Governments in Texarkana. We are part of their 9-county region, and there's a 50-40-10 breakout. It looks a lot like a 7A loan, which is a SBA loan, and 10% being the project, the client themselves, 40% for the revolving loan fund.
4% SBA?
So the SBA, it's a revolving loan fund, so it's their specific one. It's similar to the one we're transferring to the EDC. From what the SBDC, their business counselor has told us, looking at around 2% for 20 years for that 40% portion.
How long has this company been in business?
It is a startup. So currently they are operating on their land. They have, and no, not in this facility. So they're on, yes, sir, in the city limits. They have, their property came with a former metal shop with gunsmithing, and so it has these really thick doors and some bays, 223 phase. So they've been able to do onesie, twosie, one at a time, and they're looking to go into full. They want to be able to have 3 going at the same time. Currently, they don't have space. For instance, when we walked the site, they were saying, we have to park it out here when we spray paint it. But mosquitoes will come, land in the paint. It's just those types of situations. They definitely need to get into a building to be able to mass produce.
For the public, how much land goes with this? I drove out by there and looked at it, put my eyes on it out there. But how much land goes with this?
Just over 2 acres.
So not very much room for expansion the way the building lays there.
No, but we have some business parks we can bring them into if we need to.
You're talking about adjacent properties?
Talking about these schooly manufactured Phoenix school buses.
No, I guess what I'm referring to, can they expand out there as much as they need to expand with only 2 acres of land, the way that building is positioned there?
So the building is kind of, I see what you mean. It's a longer rectangular shape from the acreage standpoint. The building is kind of in the middle. We haven't really done anything to see what it would be like to go in the back or the front. But if they ever outgrew the building, the EDC would work with them on any number of our business parks that we have.
So of the 5 to 7 employees that they're talking about, is that proposed to be full-time 40-hour-a-week jobs?
Yes, that's what they've told us. And what's interesting about this, again, this is when we're considering a business like a startup, what we always want to consider, and what's always hesitant for me, and where we would make them do a ton of due diligence, because they're a startup. They don't have, they don't have a history. There's not a lot, just like any bank would do. Like, gosh darn it, it's a little scary. There's risk involved. We wouldn't want to put them necessarily in our park without a ton of we want to know their marketing plan, how they're going to do it. We would definitely doing character and credit and all those sorts of things. But what's great about this is there's enough faith in a financial institution that's located locally, in another financial institution with a revolving loan fund, and with us, and it's not going to be, the city's not going to necessarily be involved other than to facilitate it occurring by way of interceding on the purchase.
So if by chance, and hopefully it'll make it, I certainly hope so. I'm not, but I'm just saying in the event that for whatever reason we don't know what we've got coming down the pipeline the next year or two, if it did make it, who would get the building? The bank?
So if there's a failure, yeah. So at 50%, the bank is probably going to be in first position, and then the revolving loan in second. The goal is for us to be taken completely out of it.
Your board is behind this 100%?
Yes, sir.
So, question for you, as far as Mr. Dale mentioned about the 2 acres and expansion for future, I'm looking at this from another aspect. Do you know, or have they mentioned to you, from an inventory standpoint, if they're converting buses to RVs, how many bus chassis they're planning to have on site at any given time? Because again, looks like they're limited to space.
So one of the things a lot of people like about this project is the owners are a husband and wife team, very young. We're part of the Navy nuclear program, highly educated. One of them's the husband is getting his master's in mechanical engineering, and his wife is getting her MBA. And so they're highly educated. They know what they're doing. And when it comes to a lot of the research they performed for the site, to date, what we've heard them talk about is, from a liability standpoint, the customer drives the bus to their site when they're ready for it. They don't even go pick it up. It's not brought in. And a lot of the reasons just being liability. And even includes when it's done. The client comes and picks it up and drives it away. So I don't know that there'll be a ton of inventory.
They haven't I'm sorry. They haven't built one before, have they? If so, they have any, you have any picture or anything available to the finished product?
You can go to their website for the company, Phoenix School Buses. They have a Facebook page, and they have performed a number of these, and you can kind of see their demand there. So they're turning away a handful of these a month, and so they're hoping on a good day that they'll be able to do 3 of these a month. And there's currently a 6-month pipeline for that.
So let me see, make sure I'm right. They're taking old school buses and just using the chassis off of those.
Yeah, the full bus. So what our Mr. DataMax person was telling us a little bit earlier, the reason why it's so it's such an interesting project from a company side or business side is the margins are interesting because school buses can be purchased by any one of us for around $2,500. So the cost that schools have them once they depreciate and they're taken off the lot or taken out of use, they're extremely cheap, so they're extremely accessible. The hard part comes in being able to meet HUD and meet certain specifications, which this lady and gentleman are very well versed in. And so it's not an RV, which tend to have very light materials, but they're very strong materials. It's a very strong body, and which is one reason why it's preferred. It's a preference among people who prefer that type of vehicle. There's a very strong market, so we've done market studies on these guys. They've run through the SBDC as far as their marketing plan, their business plan. It's extremely impressive. Our board has been impressed with it, and as I was saying, if it helps build confidence, Guaranty Bank has looked at it. They're interested, and so has the COG.
So they've made a commitment that the property available, that they are coming here. I saw where you said they're looking at a couple different other locations. So this is not, if we do this with a property, it's not a deal a month from now. You know what, we found a better deal down the street, and we're going to go to that, and here we are with this.
So there's a number of contingencies in place. We've thought about that. One of the things that we're doing to protect the city is putting a lease in place. So we're using a lot of some of their earnest money building it in to help the company as well as lease payments. Secondly, we know it's a good rate. It's a good price, I can say, for the building. We know that there's a reason why the owner is not extending the current contract. There are buyers behind this, so if we had to just get rid of it in some way, we know that we could. And we believe that's there's not a liability on the city's part for that. So there's a number of outs for the EDC, including the third one that we've been looking because of companies like this keep coming to us because they're startups and because of our existing spec building. There's, from a optic standpoint, gosh, darn it, we go build another building and divide it up, have it demisable into 5,000 to 7,000 square feet for small companies to start and incubate in. And so that, which would be a huge outlay on the cost, but it's something we've been really looking at. So we would love to actually own a building like this as well. So either of those three, we don't see a downside.
From a marketing standpoint, can you tell us again, what are they actually calling these conversions?
The street name is Schoolies. Yeah, Schoolies. So SKOOLIES. Schoolies.
You have any further questions, Council? Okay, now.
I would assume they're planning on maybe doing this size building, and I'll just looking at it two or three at a time in there, more or less.
Of the school buses, yes, having 2 or 3 at a time. There are 3 roll-up doors in there now, so 3 bays.
Okay, we're talking about, we're doing stopgap financing to allow time for a traditional close. So basically, you're asking for 385 today. You keep saying that Guaranty's provided interest. Are they going to step in at some point and take over that 385? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, sir. So we're going to hold it for the closing period so they can get all that started.
Okay, in the meantime, we're leasing the building. Most of this I'm stating just to make sure the public knows what we got going on. We're leasing them the building to start up. They have looked at some smaller buildings in Pittsburgh, but they've expressed interest in Mount Pleasant, and most likely everything will go down the right corridor. That's what you're saying.
Yes, sir. So two other things. It's very close to their home in Mount Pleasant, which they've purchased a home here. And then secondly, on our call, they met our board on yesterday and expressed that this was their dream building. This is the one they wanted. They had already written it off. They thought it was kind of hopeless. So they're extremely excited.
Total project investment's 518, so 385 is we're just providing real estate only. Said the Aritex Council of Governments will participate in a revolving loan fund of 50-40-10 structure, and the people themselves are providing 10%, and 50 and 40 is provided by Guaranty, and then the 40 is Aritex.
Correct.
Okay, if there's no further questions, we're going to open the floor for a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion that we approve this assistant package as presented tonight on this project, Wanderlust, on the property improvements on the 1070 County Road 1135 as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. We'll now close item 1 on the agenda. Item 2 on the agenda is to consider and possibly approve paying off MP EDC's outstanding loan obligation to Pilgrim Bank identified by September 1st, 2021, payoff amount of $1,214,110.31.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I'll read the item summary quickly. In 2005, MPIDC took out a loan with Bank of America to pay for a total just over $3.2 million to pay for real estate and infrastructure improvements at our 200-acre Mount Pleasant Business Park. In 2012, the loan was refinanced, and I realize there are some typos here. I'm sorry, I was hurrying on Friday. The loan was refinanced with Pilgrim Bank and American National Bank, which are local banks here in town, with the net savings and interest payments through 2019 of $120,000. Last year, the MPIDC Board of Directors began examining either a payoff or refinance of its loan through 2025 as part of a larger project we're working on. A payoff was determined to be the best course of action. That decision, just being tied to that project, was delayed into 2021, and it could be possibly delayed for another 6 months or so. And so the MPIDC has decided to initiate payoff immediately. The payoff amount for a September 1, 2021 payoff is $1.2 million, or $1,214,110.31, which will have a result in net savings of interest payments over the remaining life of the loan of $105,848.35. Sorry for the double periods.
What was the interest rate we had on the loan when it was swapped from Pilgrim to American National?
Sorry. So for the taxable loan, it was at 5.2. and then I believe it was 3.4. I have duplicates of the same number here, but one was 5.2, and the other was I believe 3.4. It was above 3. It was between 3 and 4.
So what are the total funds y'all got available right now?
Excuse me?
What are the funds you've got available? You're gonna be paying off $1,214,110.31. I'm just saying that won't cut you short on what do you have?
We have just over 6 million in cash and pools.
But for the public, there'd be a savings to pay this off for the remaining life of the loan would be $105,848.35 again by paying this off early.
Yes, sir.
On that September 1 payoff, that 1.2 million you show there, does that include all fees or any all interest, etc.?
Yes, sir. I got that number from Pilgrim Bank, and there are no prepayment penalties in place with our local banks or anything like that.
Okay, that sounds good. Council, do we have any further questions? If not, floor will be open for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve paying the off MPEDC's outstanding loan obligation to Pilgrim Bank identified by September 1, 2021 payoff amount of $1,214,110.31.
I've got one question real quickly. Are there any other outstanding notes or that we have, the ADC has now?
Other than maybe some obligations in contract, which are we're in the middle of some sort of progressive billing. No, sir.
No large sums anywhere close to this?
No, sir. I'm gonna look over to the finance director to make sure she can double check that. But yes, there's nothing. We have no other loans.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Adams, did you have?
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Adams. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion goes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, at this time, that concludes our meeting for the day, and motion is, floor is open for motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
We are now adjourned.